to my channel. Today I'm going to be exploring rock and roll performers in Australia that have played specifically in schools and halls. I'll mostly focus on New South Wales and Victoria. Now I wanted to start by mentioning two performers that date back to the beginning of rock and roll in Australia. Firstly, many of you haven't heard of Ray Brown and the Whispers. However, they were successful between the years 1963 and 1967. They actually played in a church hall in my hometown of Smithfield, so I found that rather interesting. Johnny O'Keefe in the early days also played dance halls around Australia, or all over Sydney in particular, and many patrons did attend. As pictured in some newspaper articles that I found, there was one I found at Maryland's Hall dated back to the 1950s, the late 1950s. Now, according to a media article, the city of Parramatta actually refused to book Joye and his band in any halls or venues after the time at Maryland's Hall, something about fights that were happening. So what happened, a police constable actually suggested that the bands actually should play in police and citizens boys clubs, the YMCAs, those sort of places. So that's what they did. In fact, I've got a neighbour, Henry, who actually recalls seeing JOK at his one in Newtown in Sydney. Now, memories, stories and anecdotes. I'm going to focus this one on AC/DC because I have found quite a lot of stories and memories online about particular schools and halls that they played in the 70s. Now there's one particular one called Hurstville Civic Centre. According to Rolling Stone magazine, the crowd failed to raise the roof and the evening missed out on the climax promised earlier. Now this was apparently to do with Hurstville Civic Centre, where they did play. Now I've got a few people who recall going to see them at the centre. Karen, she mentions on an AC/DC website, a fan website, that she actually first saw them in 1975, and apparently she was allowed backstage because she knew the guy that ran the place. Kim, another lady, remembers seeing them here at an earlier date when Dave Evans actually was singing in the band, and she recalls when Angus was actually wearing his Zorro outfit. A guy called Brad recalls seeing them there with Hush as the support band. He was only 12 years old, and he actually remembers feeling quite scared because there were a lot of adults, dancing like crazy. There was this, dope smoke kind of thick in the room. There were Sharpies everywhere. And he actually likes to sort of think about the fact that he, in fact, did see Bon Scott, and he feels lucky that he did go to that event. There is one punter who has kept some fantastic pieces of memorabilia from when AC/DC played at his high school in Mascot. They're autographs that date back to 1975, and he's kept them. It's fantastic. Susie says she was 13 years old when she saw AC/DC at her high school in Gininderra High. You can actually see that Evans, Gadinsky and Associates presented the shows, and the ticket says $5.30, and that was 1976. She actually recalls Angus mooning everyone at the concert. Now Dave Rodder and his best mate Scotty, they actually recall seeing AC/DC at their high school, Karingal High in Melbourne. And the support band was apparently Cloud 9, and Scotty actually says that the Ted Mulry gang was actually on the ticket, but Jump in the Car had just been released, so they didn't actually turn up. Joanne actually recalls Angus at that gig climbing the amps, and apparently the teachers were quite appalled by the whole thing, and afterwards bands were never allowed to play there again. St Albans High School, they've actually got a great film clip on YouTube where you can actually see AC/DC performing in the hall. It's in black and white, it's fantastic. Now there was a photographer, Graham Webb, who was actually there to capture it, and he took some fantastic photos of some of the guys in the band, and he used the school toilets as the backdrop, so that was quite interesting. guy called John, he actually recalls AC/DC at his school in Leichhardt in 1975. He said it was 25 cents to get in. Apparently the band set up, unloaded their own equipment, and they kind of walked around the playground and no one paid them any attention. There are too many schools where AC/DC did play to list here. You can actually find where they played on, I think it's 2 websites that are quite detailed with, you know, AC/DC facts. So I'll list them in the description and you can kind of have a look and see if they played at your high school. I did find some pictures of various schools such as Frankston High, Ivanhoe Grammar, Matthew Flinders, the Assembly Hall. I found a poster of when they played there, and also Boronia State High School. I found a really good poster. So yeah, that's a lot to do with the schools where AC/DC in particular played. Now they also played at halls, and sometimes they played in church halls, which I found rather interesting. There's a girl called Lisa, and she actually remembers when her mum drove her and her friends to St. Patrick's Church Hall at Ballarat. She said that there were no real security guards, just an elderly caretaker. There were about 40 teenagers in the hall, and yeah, I was able to find a photo of that. Also a lady called Rosie, she's got a great photo where they played at Sacred Heart Church Hall in Oakleigh in Victoria. A guy called Richard, he saw them at the Holy Trinity Church Hall in Kew in March 1975, and I've been able to find a poster advertising this. There's 2 fantastic photos that I located on that Highway to AC/DC website where there was a concert at Bacchus Marsh Public Hall. Here is a location of the Wyong Memorial Hall that was host to various, you know, performances, and the one I'm interested in is the AC/DC concert. So here's where it is, where it was. Corner of Margaret and Anzac Avenue, Wyong. Now, as you can see, it's been replaced by this massive art house, performance and conference centre. Rockdale Masonic Hall was another place where AC/DC played, and a guy called Richard from Canberra said that in 1974 he actually was a parent and he was helping to run the Belconnen Youth Club, so they decided to put on a concert. He's actually in his 70s now, and it's one of his treasured memories. Now it's interesting, the ticket that I was able to locate via the wonderful John Hurstwood, on the ticket it actually says ticket number 392, donation of $1. So how interesting is that? A lady called Denise, she actually recalls seeing AC/DC and other bands at the Orange Amico Centre. I think she saw them twice at the town hall there. Janelle said she recalls Wollongong Town Hall, where she was 6 rows from the front, and she actually said that she remembers Angus stripping off, and she still has a ticket. Tamworth Town Hall, AC/DC played there, and there's a story where they were hiding in their dressing room, apparently because there was a mob after them with guns or something, you know, weapons that they wanted to stop the show, or that was the rumour anyway. Apparently the mayor of the town actually debunked this myth, so yeah, it's probably not true. Many people have memories of seeing various bands in schools and halls all over Australia. People who are sharing their memories. Now, one person claims that she saw, or he saw, the Easybeats at St Vincent's School Hall in Ashfield. A girl called Christine tells me that the Easybeats played at the Police Boys Club in Fairfield, and that's because her dad was the director of the RSL and apparently he organised it. Johnny O'Keefe and Cole Joye were apparently once playing at Fairfield School of Arts in New South Wales in the 60s. A lady called Denise said she saw the Easybeats, Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs at Orange Town Hall. There are also people who have memories of a fantastic band called Blackfeather performing Seasons of Change at Newington College in Stanmore in the 70s. That would have been fantastic. Alison Presley is a lady who saw Blackfeather at Parramatta High School in the 70s, and I know that they did play at various other schools and halls. Now there's a band called Velvet Underground, not the American Velvet Underground. For those who know, they played at Maryland's Youth Club and they supported Blackfeather. A guy called Michael remembers seeing the Velvet Underground band at Richmond State High School in 1969, and that was with Dave Evans on vocals. Bands like Hush, Sherbet, Radiators, Dragon, Rose Tattoo, Skyhooks and the Angels, they played in various school halls around Sydney and Melbourne. A lot of people around the Fairfield area have memories of seeing them at the White Eagle Hall in Cabramatta Civic Hall, even the Our Lady of the Rosary Parish Hall in Fairfield. A girl called Ray remembers seeing INXS at her school, Cabramatta High School, because they actually won the Eisteddfod that year, and they actually had a choice between either seeing INXS or Flowers, and they chose INXS. My school actually had the Numbers and a band called Heaven. That was St John's Park High. There's a great picture of Cole Chisel at the Armidale Town Hall, or the Armidale Hall, in 1974, where I think John joined them as second vocalist, and that'd be John Swan. Also, a guy called Russell, he remembers seeing at Cumberland High School, at his school, Old 55, Sherbet, John English. Bands like that also played at Maroubra Girls. Stevie Wright, he played at Avalon Community Hall, and there's a great flyer that mentions that with AC/DC actually. It was a Steve Wright band. So there's a story where Billy Thorpe actually, he played at FIFA Riccobono School, and she mentioned in an interview that she actually caught his guitar pick. As it happened, Billy Thorpe and the band were the first band to be signed at Albert's, where FIFA worked and ended up, being sort of the manager of the place. Now, Kevin says bands would play every weekend at the Civic Centre in Blacktown, including AC/DC, Buffalo, Dragon. Kevin actually mentioned that Andy Gibb, in fact, performed at an outdoor Christian festival around the Arcadia Vale Dural area in 1977. Wayne says he saw Hush in 1977 at Port Macquarie, supported by the band Rabbit. Rabbit was actually the band that Dave Evans joined after he left AC/DC. Also, there's a guy called Kevin who remembers working for the Radiators, and apparently some girls stormed the stage and a teacher had to save them from a room where he and the band members had locked themselves in. Ride Civic Centre. So Malcolm Young was at the Ride Civic Centre when that band Velvet Underground performed. He actually left that band in 1972. Hurstville Civic Centre also hosted bands like Midnight Oil, My Sex, The Hitmen, and there's a great poster dated back to 1979 that shows this. So the YMCAs were also a popular place to see bands when you were a teenager in particular. I'll start with Hornsby Police Boys Club. So from 1968 to 1979, it hosted Saturday night dances for teenagers. It was about 80 cents to get in, and some legendary bands that have performed at this place were AC/DC, Billy Thorpe, Buffalo, Blackfeather, Chain, Masters Apprentices, Finch, Hush. Apparently could hold about 800 teenagers. There's a guy called Hugh who went to his first concert here, and he saw Daddy Cool actually. And a guy called Norm says that he saw the Easybeats at this particular place. Ted Mulry Gang, they actually performed at this place with Buffalo, I believe. I've been able to find a flyer with Sutherland Police Boys Club showing Bon Scott and the band The Valentines, as well Jeff St John and Wendy Saddington. The Leichhardt Police Boys Club, they apparently had Johnny O'Keefe there every Wednesday. Mount Gambier YMCA, there's a poster with Fraternity in concert that I was able to find, as well as the Mornington YMCA. TMG played there in 1977. So a couple of other town halls that I'll mention. Marrickville Town Hall had Masters Apprentices play there in 1958. Balmain Town Hall had Midnight Oil in the mid-70s. Lilac Town Hall in Goulburn had TMG with Rabbit 1976, and that particular poster was courtesy of tedmulry.com website. Wyong Town Hall, they are listed as having 6 known gigs by the bands Mississippi, Buffalo, Skyhooks, Finch, AC/DC, and Horsham Town Hall, they also had quite a lot of bands there, and that one was interesting because after that concert, apparently the city of Warrnambool cancelled the concert that AC/DC were going to have there. So at the Horsham Town Hall, Johnny O'Keefe has played there, John Farnham, AC/DC of course, and Cold Chisel, Skyhooks, Hush, and later on in the 80s I think Peter Allen played there, the Divinals, John English and Marsha Hines, and as well INXS. Richmond Town Hall in Victoria also had Skyhooks perform there in 1974. As well, they played at Chelsea Town Hall in the same year. I wanted to also give a shout out to musician Russell Walsh. He's actually a radio broadcaster, and if you tune in on Saturdays between 2 and 4, he hosts the Aussie music show on Connect 100.9 FM. Russell's been able to give me a couple of images for this vlog. He's a great rock historian, so yeah, check him out. To clarify, a lot of the images that I have found are via websites such as those ACD ones that I've listed in the description, as well various people on Facebook who I will write their names in the description, and I do want to thank those people for sort of uploading a lot of those pictures on social media, and they're out there for everyone to see, so I hope they don't mind that I have included them in this vlog. Thanks for watching everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I really enjoy making them. There was a lot of research for this one because I've kind of discovered that there isn't a lot online, or if there are kind of images and videos and documents, it's all, I don't know, they're either archived or they're in libraries and they're hard to access. Not a lot of it can be found online, so I don't know, I hope that by kind of creating these vlogs, it kind of exposes a lot of that music from the past into the present, and yeah, it's still relevant. I still play a lot of those songs and albums from the 70s, so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Click or like and subscribe so that you can actually see more of my videos, because I will be doing a lot more in the future. So thanks for watching. Cheers.